Hi, thanks for watching the Louie File. Today I'm probably going to speak more directly to the male in the audience today, but I'm not saying that it won't help the females, but let me just say this. Most of us know that men are more visually driven, let's say, than women. This is why pornography and scantily clad women have a tendency to direct and get our attention off of what it needs to be on. You know, there's an age-old argument about women and how they should dress or shouldn't dress, and whether they're leading men into lustful thoughts, or, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get into that today. Men are responsible for their own actions. All the women applaud. But I would like to speak to the men on this, because the Bible does give us some very sound and simple advice on how to get through the temptations that are around us as men. If you will, if you want to look in the Bible with me, I'm going to read a couple of verses here in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. Now, most of the walking in the Spirit, walking by faith is not by sight with these eyes, but it's walking by new eyes, and it's how you see a thing. Jesus said, the eye is the lamp of the body, and if your eye is single, then your whole body will be full of light. But if it is double, or if it is evil, then you'll have darkness. And he says, and how great is that darkness? Even the light that is in you will be darkness. So how we see ourselves, God, and others, situations, life, all of these things, how we see them is a major part of the battle. So it would be, and it is the same when it comes to these eyes leading men in particular into trouble. So Paul gives Timothy some very great advice here. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. Look at this. He says, do not sharply rebuke an older man, but rather appeal to him as a father, to the younger men as brothers, the older women as mothers, and the younger women as sisters in all purity. There it is. So we see men as fathers and brothers, and we see women as mothers and sisters in all purity. So that's how we are called to see them. So if I am looking at a woman, and let's say I'm being drawn to her because I'm attracted to her by the way she looks, then I have to learn to see her as I would see my mother, or as I would see my sister in all purity. That goes a long way to keep us from engaging in lustful thoughts and behaviors. And also, you know, there's a beastly aspect of this, is the fallen man has a very beastly view of those around him. If the flesh is given the reins, then we'll start to see females or women as objects instead of people. We have to see them as people in which God wants to dwell, or in which He does dwell. And if we see them in that way, then we won't just see them as something to be conquered or won over. And I mean, this, like I said, this is probably more for the man in the audience, but I'm just trying to talk frankly without being too graphic. I don't want this to be X-rated video or too strong. But all right, so let me say this. So Paul tells Timothy to see older women as mothers and younger women as sisters in all purity. So this made me think, you know, back in the book of Proverbs, if you want to turn there, there's a whole lot of verses. I'm probably not going to read too much. I'm probably just going to give you an overview. But in Proverbs chapters 7 and 8, there is an amazing thing being shown to us. Proverbs 7 starts off, says, my son, keep my words and treasure my commandments within you. Keep my commandments and live, and my teaching as the apple of your eye. Now this is wisdom speaking. Bind them on your fingers, write them on the tablet of your heart. Look at verse 4, Proverbs 7:4. Say to wisdom, you are my sister. and call understanding your intimate friend, that they may keep you from an adulteress, from the foreigner who flatters with her words. Now there's obviously spiritual adultery, and then there's physical adultery. Take it for what it is. But right here in Proverbs, if you start in Proverbs 1 and go all the way through like the first 8 chapters or so, you will discover that wisdom is defined for us and revealed to us as a woman, as a feminine aspect of God. The wisdom of God is feminine. The mind of God. You can, take it for what it is. You can say, well, that's just an allegory, or that's just some use of poetic words or whatever. But for today, I just want you to see this as literally a woman. Okay, so now in Proverbs 7, if you keep on reading, which I'm not going to read all this, but Proverbs 7, 6 on through the rest of this chapter, you are introduced to another woman, and she's a harlot, and she is the mind of the flesh. She is a satanic, worldly, feminine mind, and she's plotting and she's manipulative. She says, and he's talking about this naive young man that goes by her house. He shouldn't even be anywhere near that house, but he finds himself there, and he's drawn into her seduction. So he finds himself listening to this harlot mind, this woman, this fleshy mind, this manipulative woman, and he is drawn in, and it says that he is brought in like a ox with an arrow that gets an arrow through his liver. Whoa. It ends up bad. It ends up deadly. So God's wisdom here, it says, say to wisdom, you are my sister. So we have to have a relationship with God and His mind and His wisdom that is pure, not one that is manipulative and defiled. So we have to see other people, other women in particular, as mothers and sisters, and then we and that's wisdom. And we start to see other people through the mind of Christ, and we start to see them as potential dwelling places of the Spirit of God, or maybe they already are the dwelling place of God. So we see through the outer, and we see by faith the inner person of who they really are, who is Christ in them. And it's Christ in me, it's Christ in you, the hope of glory. This is how we stay pure. All right, men, that's your thought for the day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on the Louie File.